friendship. Check this out. Carr's son throwing passes to AV's son. Too cute.
All right, see, break down the footwork. A little Antonio Brown's kid.
Yeah, at that time, at that age, the motoring skills, their feet, they can't make them pick them up and put them down, but he's seen his dad do that drill so many times. Oh, he's an athlete now. He's an athlete, but just tell me, why the stereotype? Why did the guy have to be the wide receiver? Why can't Antonio's son be the quarterback and then Carr's son out running routes?
Well, I don't know if this is a stereotype. It's the position their daddies play. That's what position Duran played?
He played quarterback until he got to high school.
And then he was a star wide receiver. Like, I mean, he's trying to emulate the father.
Yeah, because they're stupid. They don't be the quarterback. Anytime you can be the quarterback, be the quarterback.
Look at the chain. Come on, look at the little chain he's wearing. Is it so cute? Antonio Brown's little kid there?
Listen, man, he's a cute kid.
Come on, he's adorable.
I feel like we've seen some highlights of him killing folks. I'm not certain if that's...
High tops.
No, cute kid.
All right, time for stories to start your morning. Ezekiel Elliott continues his holdout. According to reports, Zeke is heading to Cabo to work out and stay in shape while away from the team. But Jerry Jones escalated tension between the two sides, saying, quote, "You don't have to have a rushing champion to win a Super Bowl." Nick, what was your reaction to Jerry Jones's comments?
Oh, you don't? If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, if you're the New England Patriots, you're the Philadelphia Eagles, a lot of teams don't.
Yeah, most of the recent champs.
Yep. Cowboys sure as hell do. And Jerry, you know how Jerry should know that? Even as great as those teams he had in the early 90s were. You know what all the champions had? Damn Russian champ named Emmitt Smith. Like, so the Cowboys, the way they are built with their limitations at quarterback, absolutely, unequivocally must have Ezekiel Elliott. I think to be a playoff team, and can't win the Super Bowl if you don't make the playoffs, little known fact. So Jerry knows a lot of football, think he missed the mark on this one.
Man, he missed it just a little bit because all his Super Bowls came when he had a Russian champ. So his model, the Dallas Cowboy models, when they explain that to people, it has to do with Ezekiel Elliott. Number 21, I'm going to keep repeating this till someone hears me, is the best Cowboy. All right? He's the best star on a team of stars.
All right, moving on to the Ravens now. Head coach John Harbaugh was asked about how many times Lamar Jackson will run the ball this season. Harbaugh said, "I'd bet the over on that one. I'd bet the over for sure." Nick, is this a winning formula for the Ravens? Have your quarterback run that much?
In the short term right now, it might be the only winning formula. It's the only way to give their offense a real punch is if you allow Lamar to use his legs when necessary. Now, he can be running 22 times a game like he did multiple times last year. That was ridiculous. But long term for Lamar's career, for health and for overall productivity, he has to develop more as a passer, and that's also on the team.
He's the Ben Simmons of the NFL. Listen, he's going to run the ball until they take it away. Just like Ben Simmons, when they get in the playoffs, they start guarding the hoop, he starts to struggle. He is going to struggle throwing the ball his first few years in the league, but John Harbaugh is right. There ain't no long-term future, man. Take care of right now. His body, don't worry about that right now. Developing as a runner, a passer second, ultimately you want around year 3 or 4 for that to even out or to switch, where he is a passer and an athlete second.
All right, finally, the new-look Steelers got back to work this week. No Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell, and a seemingly more mature leader in Ben Roethlisberger. Pittsburgh missed the playoffs last year, unfamiliar territory for Big Ben, who did admit that while the goal is to be back playing in the postseason, it'll be hard to replace AB and L. Bell's production.
I think the things that we did together was some things that, no one's really ever done. I mean, Peyton and Marvin maybe. I mean, just in the last few years that we did, it was pretty special. So it's going to be hard to make up for that. But I'm going to do my best to still bring my A game, and I know we've got other guys on this team that are ready to step up.
All right, guys, last year the team had Antonio Brown, and they did not make the playoffs. Missed it for the first time in a couple of years. This year they've got replacements. They got Juju Smith-Schuster, and you got James Conner. Are those two going to be enough on offense to help this team get back to the postseason?
No, those two aren't enough because they're not the same players that L. Bell. I hate sometimes. Most of the time we have great players either go on to retire or move to another team. That productivity we just think is just, oh, yeah, that's easy. That 1,400 yards he's going to get, oh, that's easy. That 1,300 yards rushing, 700 out of the backfield, oh, that's easy. No, they need a bunch of people. It's Dante Moncrief. What is he going to do? James Washington, what is he going to do? Are they going to get productivity from the tight end position that they haven't gotten at a high level? Are they going to take advantage of that great offensive line that they have? You cannot replace two great players. All right? You can't think, even if you had drafted a wide receiver #1 and been like, can he replace Antonio? No. What Antonio did broke NFL records the last 3 or 4 years as far as how good, how consistent. He can beat a double team. He's a great route runner, very explosive at open field, make people miss. They do not have one receiver on their roster that can do those things. They don't have one guy that makes a bunch of people miss in space, let alone that, oh, he's a touchdown maker. He can defeat a double team. He can't be pressed at the line of scrimmage. So Juju Schuster is getting ready to get a taste of the real world. Typically, someone like Juju Schuster, they can't make money on the Steelers because they're paying AB. So they go to another team saying, you know something? I'm a #1. I want to be a #1. Well, let me tell you something, Juju. We're getting ready to see if you can be a #1 and right now. Ultimately, he might be a #1 later in his career. I don't believe in his 3rd year he's ready to be that #1. I think they'll struggle a little bit in the passing game. Their defense will make up for it, and their running back core will make up for it.
The point you made in the beginning, it's such an interesting one because we spend so much time on shows like this and in sports media talking about the star players because they're the best players. And then when someone leaves,
they're just ordinary.
We pretend like, okay, well, obviously it'll be, Odell's production will be replaced by, well, guys that are suspended or injured or whomever. Antonio Brown, who I said on this show last year, was putting himself in the discussion for greatest football players ever under 6 feet tall. And as far as production over a 5-year stretch, it wasn't my opinion. It was just the numbers, and they can be inflated because of the era, but still, as productive of a 5-year run as anyone's ever had. Now, one can believe that Juju Smith-Schuster was held back by having AB on his team, that he would have gotten more yards and more touchdowns if he had more opportunities.
And then I would tell them they were crazy.
Right. Or one can believe the more logical option, which is Juju Smith-Schuster is a good player who maybe one day will be a great player, but benefited enormously from his first season with the Steelers. He was the 3rd or 4th guy defense is worried about, and even last year was the 2nd or 3rd guy defense is worried about. Never double teamed. Never a guy that when the defensive coordinators were or the secondary coaches were meeting with guys when the Steelers were coming up, listen, the guy we've got to worry about, I don't even know his number 19. Like, no, now, again, that doesn't negate the 1,400 yards he got. But it also, I think, it'd be foolish for us to just say, well, he will get that 1,425 again, and therefore they just need to replace Antonio's 1,315 touchdowns. I don't think that's how this is going to work.
How much of how good Antonio Brown was, how good Juju Smith-Schuster was last year, is because of how good of a quarterback Ben Roethlisberger is? They developed real good wide receivers there in Pittsburgh. Is that on the quarterback?
It had a lot to do with their comfort with each other. They played in so many games, so many pressure situations. Even when Antonio was double teamed, typically a quarterback is taught, get off the double team wide receiver, get to a better matchup. Ben Roethlisberger, time after time, game after game, regardless of the double team, would force the ball to AB, and they would make big plays against the worst defense to be able to make big plays against. So they developed a great deal of confidence over the last several years. They have a 4-year window that I believe is the greatest 4-year window of any one wide receiver quarterback combination is what they had there in Ben. I'm not going to just throw that out and act like all that chemistry, he'll have that with Juju immediately. No, most quarterbacks will not throw to a wide receiver who's double teamed, and they will not throw to a guy who's covered up. It takes a lot of faith, a lot of confidence, and that's what AB had in Big Ben, and that can't be developed just with one training camp. So Ben is going to have to create more trust with these wide receivers, especially early in the season.
And just real quick, but none of that is to say, I don't know who Chris's pick for the AFC North is going to be, but it wouldn't shock me at all if it ended up being the Steelers. None of that is to say the Steelers can't get back to the playoffs. They're just going to have to do it a different method.
Yes.
They're going to have to get back to playing really good defense. Devin Bush, their first-round pick, is going to have to make an instant impact. James Conner is going to have to be who he was last year, and even better. And Big Ben can't be near the league lead in interceptions either. Big Ben's got to do a better job of taking care of the football and allowing trusting the defense to a degree and not having to throw for 5,000 plus yards as he did last year, which statistically was wonderful, but they missed the playoffs, as you mentioned, for the first time in 5 years.
All right, let's